Good morning, everybody. I have a bunch of new followers, so I decided to just go live and do a reintroduction. So, first off, my name is Eve Weber, and I am 46 as of about a couple weeks ago. And I have been in the strength and conditioning, health and fitness industry for about 28 years. And just to kind of give you some backstory, I grew up as an athlete and played all the sports. And during springtime, I ended up playing about three sports at the same time by the time I was in seventh, eighth grade. And just thought everything was great. Went into college, chose exercise science as my major, was already working in my field and just doing all the things. It wasn't until I was pregnant with my daughter around 32 that I was diagnosed with preeclampsia. So, high blood pressure associated with pregnancy, there's really no, um, like, there's no explanation usually for this. You can have a healthy athlete, like an Olympic athlete, like Allison Felix, who ended up preeclamptic. It can be anything. I do know that my grandmother on my mom's side was preeclamptic with one of her pregnancies. So that caused quite a bit of issues. I ended up getting induced 3 weeks early. I was extremely inflamed, a lot of water weight gain, and the recovery was a big struggle. It took a solid year just to even kind of feel normal. Um, and ended up getting into running, which I really only ran when I played soccer. I was more into like the lifting and like plyometrics. And when I recovered fully, I felt great, but what I didn't know is that I was about to walk through one of the major stressors in my life. So I ended up getting this dream job that I thought was just like the final thing. This was going to be the job. And I was a strength coach for a large fire department. And the moment I walked in, there was just a lot of chaos. And there's a lot of great people there, but there's a lot of dysfunction as well. And with government agencies, working with first responders, you're dealing with people who have PTSD. There could be some substance abuse issues, a lot of sleep deprivation, and a lot of high stress. And so walking into that and trying my best to keep up and manage all the things. I loved the job itself, did a great job with coaching the academies. But again, a lot of the dysfunction, I was kind of getting hit by, like, we'll call it the shrapnel of the dysfunction. And after about 6.5 years, I just knew it was time to leave. But in that time frame, I went from a very healthy late 30 something to going into early onset menopause because of the chronic stress. And I had a few traumas I experienced while I was in there, some personal and some professional. And so my whole body started to shut down. My thyroid started to go hypothyroid. My adrenals were running constantly and started to shut down. And my hormones were all over the place. I was gaining weight like 2 pounds a day at one point, which obviously isn't fat weight. It was just inflammation. My hands would start to go numb. I felt tired all of the time. I could sleep. I could go to bed at 6, 7, 8 at night because I was so exhausted and wake up the next day and feel like I could go back to sleep at 9 or 10 in the morning. And so obviously there was something wrong. This was not my healthy body. I found a functional medicine doctor and he diagnosed me with early onset menopause. And he also diagnosed me with mold toxicity. And because that was kind of something he specialized in. Unfortunately, after a couple years of working with him, I still was getting nowhere. Some of the inflammation had gone down. There was no weight loss. I still was feeling kind of like tired, and all they were doing was prescribing more medications. And that goes against everything that I believe in. Yes, there's a time and a place for medication. Absolutely. But I ended up at some point where I had about 8 medications and I wasn't feeling any better and nothing was working. So I sought out another functional medicine doctor and explained the situation. And they said, no, you definitely do not need to be on all of those medications. Thank goodness I was able to stop all of them. And I was even able to get off, guess what? My thyroid medication. I know we all think that it's like a death sentence. And once you start it, you can never go off of it, but you can with the right support, the right food support, the right supplement support. So it's been quite some time now. I no longer work with that functional medicine doctor. And I just trusted myself after 28 years in this industry, working with athletes, older adults, first responders, dealing with PTSD and stress responses in those first responders. It's not that I didn't know what I was doing, but as a coach, sometimes it's so hard to coach myself, and I finally just had to coach myself. I had to take the control back into my hands and trust that I really know what I'm doing. I really can heal my body, and started the process. And honestly, by the grace of God, it's been a great journey. I've always had faith in everything I've done, but I had to do some deeper work, and also some deeper work within myself as to uh, kind of just the stressors and what happened around those stressors. And I thought I had dealt with certain things, but there's always layers. You know, we go through certain things, we think we work through it, but sometimes other things come up later. So that's kind of a little bit of the chronic stress that I went through in a nutshell. As a result of all of that, I made a choice a couple years ago, and I could kind of feel something stirring in me to where I've always had my business, but I just felt like it needed to go a different direction. And even when I was working for the fire department, I still had some contracts that were smaller, but I just felt like God was saying, you know what? It is time to put faith into your business fully and to help other people heal the way I have. So I had to walk that path. It was really an eye opener and humbling to go from being a healthy athlete and a healthy adult my entire life to completely opposite, being overweight with inflammation, hormones out of whack, and having to go from negative to ground zero to building myself back up. So the struggles of that are real, and it takes time. Healing gut health can be quick and easy, but healing your adrenals and lifestyle and stress does take time, and it can be done. It just takes time, and it takes the right steps. And it probably doesn't have to take as long as I did, because I had to learn a lot of things the hard way. And now it's time to help you be able to do that in an easier way. Like a lot of you, working a lot and being busy, whether you love your job or you don't love your job, you're a mom, you're a dad. But this stage of life with kids and work and all the things, and trying to keep all your ducks in a row. I mean, I'm just trying to keep mine in the same pond sometimes. Um, can be challenging. And like you, I'm human too. Just because this is my field of work doesn't mean that it's not hard for me to still do the same things. I just have more knowledge and more experience with it. But it is hard. Getting up early to make sure I get things done before everybody else gets up sometimes is a struggle, because I feel like I need more sleep. So I have to adapt my schedule. But just remembering that life is a constant ebb and flow. There's no perfect controlled structure that's going to work. What I used to work for me when I was in my 20s didn't work for me in my 30s. What worked for me in my 30s doesn't work for me in my 40s. And I'm sure it'll change in my 50s. It could change next year. But right now, having one of my daughters in middle school, and we all know, ladies, middle school was not fun for anybody. Okay, so she comes home, she wants to talk with me. I'm there to support her. She's got lots of sports. I have my schedule. So managing all that, and also prioritizing health, is crucial. Prioritizing health has to be number one, outside of putting God first in your day. And it can be hard to do. We are taught in this society that we need to be able to do all the things, carry all the weight on our shoulders, look amazing, and do it effortlessly. But we all know that's not really how it works. It's not effortlessly. Something has to take a toll. And it takes some deep work to reprioritize, like, is my job the most important thing in my day, or is my family? Is my health, like, do I want to be around for my kids and their kids? And that's really such a reality check. And it never really hit me that much until, and I put this in my post yesterday. My mom had, or I think it was the day before, my mom had a spinal surgery when she was about 50, and I was probably 28 at the time. And my brother had already had his kids. They're a little bit older than my daughter. And so she got to hold them and help with them and do all the grandma things. And by the time I had my daughter, she wasn't really able to hold my daughter. Her spinal injury, it was kind of a genetic thing for her. We're not really sure what happened, but that's a whole other story for another day. But she ended up where she could walk for the first year and a half, but then quickly ended up to a walker and now really can't move a lot. And she's in her 70s now. So it's been about 20 years of this inability to move, and watching that happen to my mom and realizing that we don't really have control over some of the unforeseen things that can happen, and taking care of our bodies in the right way it can make a huge difference. And sadly, my dad ended up passing about 5 years ago suddenly, and he had high blood pressure. He chose not to treat, which I did not know at the time. And he kind of kept it close to his chest, and he just didn't say anything. And so he helped my mom up one morning, and he ended up going back to bed and passing away. And it was a huge shock for our whole family. He was like, I want to say matriarch, but I know that's usually the female, but he really kind of was the last bit of glue that held everything together. And I know he's with our Father now. He was such a strong believer and follower of Jesus, but realizing how quickly things can change just brought it to such the forefront of my mind that life is so short. You don't have to, like, YOLO, you only live once, and go crazy. But I do want to be around for my daughter's kids. I do want to be able to watch her graduate from high school and hold her grandchildren and be healthy and um, live till I'm already gray. You can see some of it there, but till I'm way more gray and older. And so it's just something for you to kind of think about, is this isn't a negative or pressureful thought process, but just a perspective shift of, okay, where are you at in your life? What's important to you? And I promise you, if you do a schedule audit, or you just look at a week schedule and look at your day and say, okay, I am getting up and immediately going to work, and I barely have time to eat. I barely make time to eat. And I don't really do a lot of exercise, and I just kind of diet to cut weight, maybe. And then I work late at night, or I just don't make time for fun things, or I veg out on my phone and doom scroll, or sit there and watch Netflix. Is that something that you want to look back on the years of your life and go, wow, I just really didn't watch enough Netflix? I didn't watch enough TikToks. I realize that your brain's probably fried, and that's why you're doing that. And it gives you a chance to kind of numb out and check out. But there is another way. And I know it feels overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be if you have the right support. And, you could work with me. You can work with somebody. There are some amazing health coaches on here that would also do an amazing job, but we all have our specialties. My specialty is functional health. My specialty is dealing with major stressors in life and walking you through those stressors and helping you feel less overwhelmed, to reduce that stress. And just one step at a time, we heal your body. And I say from the inside out, because yes, looking great, having a great aesthetic is obviously a wonderful side effect, but that doesn't come for a while. I had to face that reality, and it's a reality we all have to face, that I was no longer the 20 something that could lose 5 pounds in a week or two and be fine. losing weight, reducing inflammation, improving your sleep of all things, and adjusting your schedule. That takes some finesse and some time. And building habits, we all know it's not just a 28-day thing or a 30-day thing. Sometimes habits take longer to build, sometimes they don't. There's this time frame of, anywhere from a few weeks to a couple months to build a habit. And you have to start small. You want those wins. Maybe we take out weight training because it's too much stress and you just go for a walk every day. A lot of times, that's where we have to start. Let's get you walking on a regular basis and not listening to music and just breathing in the air and just kind of having to sit there. And I get it. It's probably a little uncomfortable to sit with yourself and your thoughts, but it does get easier. So, why am I telling you all of this? Well, I had to go through it. I had to go through this chronic stress, not just once, not just twice, but I wouldn't even remove myself from the situation. God had to kind of like force me to. And traumas, little t, big T, traumas can impact your body and your health. And sometimes we stay busy just to push through, but eventually it eats away. And for me, it ate away at me in my 40s. I was about 40 when everything just kind of fell apart. And rebuilding takes time. And so I want you to think about, what kind of life did you envision when you were younger? I know I had to do that. I had to look back at little me and go, what did I pick this field for? Why did I pick exercise science? Why did I go to school for this? All the sciences, by the way, is crazy. Lots of labs. And I picked it because I was a wrestler in high school. And although I was undefeated, I struggled with having enough energy and understanding how to eat. My dad was into bodybuilding and eating healthy, but that didn't translate over really well to me as a wrestler because the old adage and the old ways of thinking were to cut weight. And so I ate chicken, I ate rice, and I had very minimal breakfast and lunch. And I definitely wasn't getting enough protein. And I could have been, and not that this really matters, but I look back and go, wow, I could have had so much more information from my coaches, but all they knew was to just say, cut weight, eat rice, eat chicken. And there was no amounts, there was no how to eat healthy and then cut weight in a healthy way. And so I just thought, athletes, people, women, everybody. And granted, people need to know how to eat healthy. And that was my reason for getting back into exercise science and helping people. And as I went through my own struggles, I realized there's a lot of people out there. I'm going to say women primarily. I know that there's some men who probably deal with some of the stress too, and I'm right there with you. But mamas, like sis, we all think we can do it all. And you can have a successful business or a successful career, and you can have a healthy relationship with your kids, but not at the expense of your health, not at the expense of your life. And so I just encourage you to think about it and think about, what kind of life you want, what you dreamed about when you were younger. Did you think about, okay, at this point in my life, I want to be able to go roller skating with my kids, by the way, which we do not every Friday, but we try to go every Friday. And man, it feels good to just have fun with my daughter and skate and get out of my own head and just play and listen to fun music. Okay, by the way, side note, I'm going to digress for a moment. They play oldies and like old school music, which is the 90s. And to me, I growing up in the 80s and being born in 78, think, wow, to me, oldies is like classic rock from the 60s and 70s. But no longer is that the case. It's like 90s, early 2000s. So whatever, Usher. And yeah, sorry, side tangent. But I just want to ask you, why not pull that microscope back? And instead of looking at everything with tunnel vision, Sit in the morning for 5 minutes. I am pretty sure in a 24-hour day, you have 5 minutes, okay, to devote to taking a breath and just being like, hey, God, like, what do you have for me? Am I aligning my life with what you want me to do? Am I encouraging people at work? Am I encouraging myself? Am I taking care of the temple that you gave me? It says this in Romans, in Corinthians, to take care of your body. Our body holds the Spirit, the Holy Spirit in it. Jesus's energy, his love is in us. And our body is a temple to take care of. Now, all the fitness people you see that talk about this perfect body, bodybuilders, that's great. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about eating good food, eating well, supplying your body with the fuel it needs. And you know what? If exercise looks like walking for 15 minutes and stretching because you're stressed and you need to just chill out, then that's the movement for you. If it's foam rolling because you're super tight and we need to work on mobility, you can build up to weightlifting, you can build up to all those things. So, I could probably talk about this for a really long time, but I just want you to think about what are the priorities in your life? What are those things in the back of your head that you say, oh, next week or next year? Or, oh, guess what? Halfway through the year, I'll wait till New Year's to start another resolution. It's probably not going to work. This isn't to pressure you into working with me. This is to get you to think about your life and the dreams and goals you have and how it's aligned with your purpose. And so, functional health, holistic health, whatever you want to call it, is about you and grounding you in who you really are instead of putting up the front, trying to constantly pretend that you can do it all. Listen, I can't do it all. Like, there's no way. I am a strong woman. I am a go getter. Anybody who knows me knows I'm very determined and very persistent. And if I set my mind to something, it's happening. But where's the play? Where's the fun? I'm pretty sure God did not want us to be stressed all the time, working all the time like crazy. We're supposed to enjoy the people around us, our community, our family. And if you're an introvert and you're like, I don't want to be around people, cool, you don't have to. But what do you like to do? Did you used to like to draw or play music? Are you making time for those things? What brings you joy? So when you think about fitness and health and nutrition and diets, I want you to ask yourself if you're making time for that, if it feels overwhelming, and what support you need to get there. Whether it's working with one of the other amazing coaches on LinkedIn or it's working with me, do you need weekly check-ins? Do you need daily check-ins? What kind of support do you need? Do you need individualized meal plans, which is probably the case? There are some foundational things that we do, but there's a much bigger picture of fine-tuning things for you. Do you have some health history that needs some attention? So I'm going to sign off with just asking you, what's your priorities? To take a look at your schedule and ask yourself when. If not now, then when? Because you don't have to walk away from your career. You don't have to walk away from your job. You don't have to not be there for your family. Just when are you going to make yourself a priority and align yourself and truly take care of you? I know there's a lot. That's probably a pretty loaded question for some of you. You've got some deeper stuff going on that maybe you're avoiding. But I promise you, there's a lot of support on here, whether it's just me or other people. There's a lot of support and other people who are in the same shoes as you. You are not alone. And I believe that you can do this. For anybody who needs to hear this, when I was struggling, God, I just needed somebody to come up next to me and say, you're not crazy. There is something wrong. but I'm here to walk next to you and help you. And I get all choked up because I just still remember how alone I felt. And when the right people came up next to me and said, Eve, you got this. Like, you're not stuck here. And it is okay. Just slow down and let's do this one step at a time. You know, AA's got it right, one day at a time, man, and sometimes 1 minute at a time, but one step at a time. And those consistent steps, and any of you business people know this, gosh, consistency is key. It's boring, it's frustrating sometimes, but it's key. You will get there. So oh, you're welcome. I see some messages for some awesome people. You're really welcome. But I just want you to know that one step at a time, you got this. If you feel like you need extra support, let's hop on a call. My featured section has my free hour long, and sometimes we go over. By the way, for those of you who've already talked with me, know that sometimes it'll be an hour 15, because I want to make sure you walk away with a plan of action. It's not a sales call. It is literally you telling me your story. I'm there to listen to you and then start problem solving. You walk away with me emailing you a well-fit plan of action, laid out a couple pages, each area of your life and the first steps we need to take. And you can take that and start on it. You can choose to work with me. But I want you to walk away with something, because I remember what it felt like, and it sucked. It sucked to feel alone, and it wasn't fun to feel like I was so behind and just not myself anymore. I would look in the mirror and I couldn't see who I was. But I just want you to know you're not alone. And I just pray for each of you. And I do have a prayer request in my featured section. It's on my website too. And you can just put it in my DM and say, hey, I need prayers. Prayer does work. By the way, for those of you who like research, it is in research everywhere that prayer works. Whether you believe in God, you're questioning things, I'm happy to pray for you. So I'm going to sign off now and just let you all know you're not alone. You are supported. It is okay to reach out and ask for a little bit of help. That's what all of us are supposed to be doing when we connect. It's not just the BS, hey, thanks for the connection. And yes, sometimes we do that, but support. Let's reach out and actually talk to each other and actually support each other and get real and get messy and work on the things that help us to be healthy. So I really pray and hope all of you have a blessed day. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I just, I'm thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for the new followers. I'm thankful for all the encouragement that you guys give me, because sometimes I get frustrated too. So anyhow, it's been great. And I'll see you guys next week with another live and some other posts. And also, I would love your feedback. If there's something specific you're looking for and you're not finding it, or you want my information that I put out there to go a different direction, or you have questions about something, I'm here to serve you. It's not about my agenda. It's about what you guys need from me and from the rest of us as coaches. So if you have a topic you want me to talk about, you want me to do a live stream, you have questions, please. I got so much information up in my head that I would love to put out there. You are giving me the direction. So tell me what you need, and I will happily put that out there. All right. Have a blessed day, everybody.